So, I decided to do this video or this project on how well the mind can multitask. And I wanted to do it because it's been brought up multiple times in the past in classes and stuff, but it's never really been thoroughly explained. So I wanted to know why we get so distracted when we're trying to focus. Trying to take a test and so many people are talking around you and you couldn't really focus, so then you're just kind of thrown off balance, and then you notice that you did way worse on the test than you feel like you could have done. You feel like you could have done better, but it just didn't happen. Or another instance could be you're trying to read a book and your mind just won't let you focus. You instantly get bored, or you just start thinking of random things and you can't keep your concentration. I want to know why our mind thinks like that and why these huge distractions or little distractions can throw off our focus or our balance so easily, and how well our mind can handle all this that's going on. Oh yeah, distractions. Sorry, I was distracted. So my research question is, how well can the mind multitask? And by multitask, I mean how well can your brain function or focus with outside distractions and other things going on? How well can your mind handle all these things going on? I think the best way to really understand this is to understand how the mind works. So let's learn about how the mind works. So, did you know that our brain is set up into two systems? Not one, but two.
You may not realize it, but your brain actually processes information in two very distinct ways. Like when you look at this photo, you instantly know she has blonde hair, is visibly angry, and likely has some choice words to yell. Without any effort, you experienced fast thinking. But if you look at the following problem, something different happens. Sure, you immediately know it's a multiplication problem, and you knew you could solve it if you had the energy, but didn't. If you do try, your muscles will tense, your pupils will dilate, and your heart rate will increase. Now, you've experienced slow thinking. These two systems of fast and slow thinking dictate much of our perception and reaction in life.
System 1 is basically the system that chooses our decisions for us, our automatic decisions. For instance, someone calls your name and you react immediately. That is System 1, and that is its job.
Take these lines for example. It's clear that they're different lengths, but if you measure them, they're actually the exact same length. Even now that you know, System 1, or your fast thinking, can't stop seeing the illusion because it acts automatically. A similar effect is seen here. Which figure is the largest? Again, they're all the same size, but the suggestion of perspective and depth causes your System 1 to interpret the picture as three-dimensional, even though it's on a flat two-dimensional surface. It's making quick work of the available information, and so your conscious System 2, or slow thinking, must compensate after the fact and choose not to believe your intuition or instinct.
Now we have System 2. Now, System 2 is our thinker. It's our conscious decision maker thinker. If that makes any sense.
Want to see your System 2 in action? I'll show you a string of 4 digits, you read them aloud, then add 1 to each of the original digits. If the card reads 3795, the correct response would be 4806. We'll then go to the next card and you'll do the same, followed by the next card. Ready? Go. Few people can cope with more than 4 digits, but even harder is add 3. The interesting bit is that though your pupils would have dilated, you often become effectively blind when you fully engage System 2. Did you notice the color of the text change? Or how about the fact that the numbers completely changed when I put them off to the side? Listen.
So, System 2 is also in charge of our attention, and it controls how we pay attention. Sometimes System 2 does get a little overloaded, and that's how distractions can sneak in.
People experience. So this is how the framework goes. So we see that there's two types of interference generally: internal interference and externally induced interference. And we could split those each into different types of interference based on your goals.
The first kind of distraction is a sensory distraction. Now, a sensory distraction is everything that's going around you, things you can feel, things you can hear, things you can see. Those are sensory distractions.
If the information is totally irrelevant to you, we consider it a distraction. Let's say you're at a restaurant, you're having a conversation. If you have any hopes of remembering the details of that conversation, you know that you're very busy suppressing the chatter in the room. Maybe the waiter is taking an order at the next table. You're just trying to block that out. It's irrelevant information. You're trying to suppress it. That same stimuli can serve as what we call interruptions or multitasking, when you think that maybe you can do more than one thing at a time. So maybe you're sitting there having a conversation, but now you're trying to listen what the specials are being announced at the next table. Or maybe you're on the way to the refrigerator and a phone rings and you pick it up, and now you have to re-engage in your initial task. That's how we...
Have you ever had something weighing you down emotionally? Well, that something is an emotional distraction, and you know how hard those can be to block those out.
This can all happen internally as well. Some of it is mind wandering. Your thoughts leave your focus against your will, irrelevantly, just travel to places that you did not intend them to. Or you could be multitasking internally. Perhaps some of you are doing it now. You are paying attention to what I'm saying, you're looking at the slides, you're listening to me, but you might be planning what you're going to have for lunch later, or dinner, who you're going to meet in the afternoon. And so this constant interference keeps us from being present, directed on our goals.
Emotional distractions are the one that keep your attention the most. They mess with your mind so much. You would think it would be the people talking around you, when really it's just the voice that's talking in your head.
Even though our brains reward this kind of behavior, even though they make us crave information, they're actually not very good at processing information with the intensity and the quantity and the speed we find ourselves surrounded by today. And the reason is that our short-term working memory has a very small capacity. Working memory is essentially the contents of your consciousness at any given moment. What you're aware of is in your working memory. What you're not aware of is not in your working memory. And you probably remember at least the title of a famous paper where things are coming into and out of our working memory, into and out of our consciousness really, really quickly. Because as soon as you take in a new bit of information through whatever screen you happen to be looking at, some other piece of information in your working memory has to leave, has to exit in order to make room for the new piece of information. And when this happens, and psychologists, particularly educational psychologists, have been studying this, this phenomenon, particularly as it relates to education for a long time, is you suffer quite literally cognitive overload. You're overloading your mind, you're overloading your working memory, and when that happens, you're never paying close attention to anything. You're never focusing on one thing for an extended period of time. And unfortunately, there are all sorts of important intellectual processes that, as a result, get short-circuited. They never happen because they require us not to take in constant information, but to filter out information and to focus on one thing.